You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
Welcome to this special episode of the Disease Du Jour podcast that we're going to give you an AAEP Convention preview with the Merck Animal Health Equine Professional Services team. I'm your host, Kim Brown, editor of Equine Management, along with my co-host, Carly Sisson, digital content manager of Equine Management. The Disease Du Jour podcast is brought to you in 2023 by Merck Animal Health. The Merck Veterinary team joining us today are Drs. Bryant Craig, Dwayne Chappell, Chrissy Schneider, Kara Wright, and Philip Van Hereveld. Thank you all for joining us today, and we are looking forward to your suggestions for the Don't Miss This presentations and events at the 2023 AAEP Convention in San Diego, California. So we're going to start with Dr. Craig. What do you have on your list this year?
Well, thanks, Kim, for having us. Always enjoy this episode of Disease Du Jour as we get a chance to preview what's going to happen at AAEP and kind of get our sight on what we want to attend and what we want to highlight. And I guess first and foremost for me today, just want to remind everybody about Vet Story Night. So that's become kind of a longstanding tradition at AAEP, started by Ron McDaniel on our equine sales team, and we're going to continue that this year in San Diego. It'll be on November 30th, starting around 7 p.m. So if everybody will make sure and grab your tickets early, it's become a very popular event and has managed to raise literally hundreds of thousands of dollars for the AAEP Foundation over its lifetime. So we hope to continue that success this year. And he's got a great program lined up and a special guest coming as well. So if you're looking for something to do on November 30th, I'd make sure and put that on your calendar. The next thing I would kind of highlight for people coming in, if you've never participated in the committee meetings, I would highly encourage you to look at those, and they're open to all membership for at least part of the period. And you can gain a lot of insight on what's going on within AAEP and the industry as well by attending those meetings. The next thing that is one of my favorite things at AAEP is just time in the exhibit hall. So that's going to be a little bit different this year with some enhanced features as far as food offerings and time in the exhibit hall, thanks to some kind of outside the box thinking by the leadership at AAEP. So looking forward to see how that goes and participating in that and just catching up with old friends and discussing cases and products and whatever else comes up at the exhibits. And lastly, to get into a bit of a scientific discussion and kind of kick it off for the scientific program would be the Milne Lecture on Reproduction by Dr. Patrick McHugh. He's been a long friend of Merck, and I'm really excited to hear what he has to say and how he wraps up his career as a kind of a legend and at the forefront of everything equine reproduction. He's been a great teacher and mentor to all of us, and just really looking forward to what he has to say in that Milne Lecture.
Well, those sound like some great and fun times and some real education. Yeah, Dr. McHugh is amazing. I can't wait to hear what he's got to say this year. Okay, next on our list, Dr. Chappell, would you tell us what you've got on your Don't Miss This list for this convention?
Thanks so much, Kim. And this is another convention that I'm really looking forward to, the opportunity to interact with lots of AAEP members. And I think each of us would highlight that the visits we have in the hallways and outside of the meeting room is oftentimes where we may gain the most knowledge and by far the most network and contacts with people. To kick my AAEP off will be on Wednesday, the 29th, committee meetings. I think it's a great place to interact and learn a little bit more about the organization. I'm going to try to make a point to attend the Welfare and Public Policy Council to start with. And then I had the privilege to chair the Professional Conduct and Ethics Committee at 10 a.m. to noon. A portion of that session will be open and a portion will be closed. But I encourage any AAEP member to take a look at these different committee options and learn a little bit more about what our organization is doing throughout the year. On Thursday, prior to the Milne Lecture that Dr. Craig mentioned, I would highlight the Foundation Scholarship Awards. This is nice little time to recognize our students that have worked so hard and continue to work hard through their veterinary school years, and also get rewarded for those efforts through some of the foundation scholarships. Merck Animal Health continues to support this foundation outreach and will be providing scholarships to 5 recipients this year. Other things to highlight that Merck Animal Health will be involved with, and more importantly, continue to pour into our up-and-coming veterinarians, with the Avenues program on Friday night. That'll run from 5 to 7 p.m. and give veterinary students opportunities to interact with many different internship and externship opportunities through a lot of practices that will set up displays and offer their time and expertise to just interact with students. And then finally, I want to highlight an early session on Saturday morning, December 2nd. For many of us, by that point in time of the meeting, we're getting pretty tired, and getting up early is not on our list, but please consider the 6:30 to 8 a.m. ethics session that I have the privilege to moderate. This year, the title of that will be The Intersection of Ethics in Equine Practice and the Sustainability of Our Profession. And we're going to do something a little different this year. We're going to highlight 4 presenters that will be speaking from different subcommittees in the Sustainability Outreach Program. And each of those will give some update information of what those committees have accomplished over the past year, and then have a nice Q&A session at the end. So I think lots of things to look for beyond just our typical lameness or infectious disease, but other ways that we can interact and learn.
Well, those are great. And I know that Dr. Chappell, you have for years volunteered to be on AAEP committees and lead committees. How can veterinarians maybe get a little more involved in the committees?
From an organizational standpoint, filling out the volunteer interest form is step one. And I know there's some frustration that I hear from different members that, well, I've been filling that out for years, but have yet to get a call. Continue to do step one, but then reach out to those individual committee chairs, reach out to folks on the member engagement committee, and make your voice known that you really want to participate and give back to this organization.
That's great. Thank you very much for that tip. Today's Disease Du Jour podcast is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. Merck Animal Health believes that if we all do right by the horse, we'll never do wrong. That's why they're driven by an unconditional commitment to the horse and to the veterinarians and communities who support them. From infectious disease tracking through the Equine Respiratory Biosurveillance Program, to building a sustainable profession through the Veterinary Wellbeing Study, to creating equine health products with the highest level of safety and efficacy, Merck Animal Health is unconditional. It's just who they are. Learn more at merckanimalhealthusa.com. Okay, Dr. Schneider, give us a few tips on what you think we shouldn't miss this year at AAEP Convention.
Thanks. Hi, Kim.
Hi.
So I am super excited about AAEP. I always get excited this time of year, getting ready to come together with everybody and see friends that have ended up all around the country. So looking forward to seeing everybody in San Diego. I'm going to be kicking off my AAEP bright and early on Thursday morning with the sunrise session that Merck Animal Health is sponsoring. It'll be a panel discussion, so similar to last year, but with kind of different focus, I guess. And so this panel discussion is going to be updates on creating a sustainable practice model. And the panelists are all equine practitioners. We have Drs. Shane Baird, Michael Clark, Stacy Cordovano, and Wendy Krebs, and this panel will be moderated by our own Dr. Cara Wright. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how these practitioners are putting into practice a lot of the sustainability, kind of buzzwords that we've been talking about a lot and will continue to talk about a lot, and it's important. But I think it's extra important to hear from kind of real world examples of how, some of these ideas are put into practice. And this panel represents really a variety of practice sizes from various parts of the country. And that's on purpose, really to provide, broad representation of experiences. So I think it'll definitely be worth getting up early for. It'll be day one of the convention as far as sessions go. So hopefully people will still be kind of raring to go and ready to hear some helpful information. And then also on Thursday at 9 a.m., there'll be the keynote, as we have every year, right? So different topic every year. This year, the keynote will be given by Cassandra Worthy, and the title is Master the Chemistry of Change, Uncover Your Inner Change Enthusiasm. So, as I mentioned, and others have already mentioned, sustainability is definitely top of mind for AAEP and I say most equine practitioners. And to change anything is hard, but it's also a really necessary part of our lives, like personally and professionally. So I'm looking forward to hearing about the strategies that Cassandra Worthy has to share with us to help us move, as she says, from surviving change to growing through change. So hopefully it'll make it seem less daunting, I hope, the idea of changing things in our profession. And then kind of along that same line, there is an opportunity on Friday afternoon to get some more information from the 5 subcommittees of the AAEP's Commission on Equine Veterinary Sustainability. And those 5 subcommittees are practice culture, compensation, emergency coverage, internships, and students. So in this session, they've titled it I Am Change, Transforming Your Equine Practice with Innovative Solutions. And Merck is proud to be sponsoring that session. We certainly are supportive of this kind of movement and want to help any way we can. And along those same lines, I have the privilege of being a member of the Practice Culture Subcommittee, and Dr. Wright on our team is on the Emergency Coverage Subcommittee. So we're really excited for these ideas and solutions that the subcommittees have been working really hard to put together for the past year plus. We're excited for these resources to get into the hands of the AAEP membership. So this session will give you an opportunity to learn more about these resources and get some ideas of what you could put into practice in your own workplace. And then as far as scientific sessions, I'm interested to see how this new format, they're calling it BURST format, and it's kind of all topics under this ambulatory practice umbrella, if you will. So this is on Saturday in the morning from 8 a.m. to 11, but they're 5-minute presentations about a wide variety of topics. And so I think it'll be an interesting way to get kind of little, sound bites or little pieces of information that you could, put into practice and be very practical. So I'm interested to see how that format works out. Going through the list, there are lots. I'm certainly not going to list all of them, but the few that kind of sounded particularly interesting to me are stifle radiology acquisition tricks and findings that will surprise you. That will be presented by Dr. Elizabeth Akut. Ataxia versus lameness. Is this a medicine or orthopedic problem? That's presented by Jackie Christakos. Medical management of insulin dysregulation, more than thyro-L, presented by Emily Berryhill. And what happened to all the embryo transfer recipients? How to synchronize on a farm, by Melissa Prell. So as always, there's so much to see and learn about at AAEP. So those are just some of the highlights for me.
Well, and I do want to tell everybody that's listening, last year, the Merck Sunrise session, you can go there, grab you a plate of food for breakfast, go sit in your room, but it was standing room only last year. That was a well-attended, everybody just stood around and talked afterwards. It really sparked a lot of interest. So I would highly recommend that you get up, get over there, get you some breakfast, and go listen to what some of these practitioners have to say, because it was amazing last year. It was well received. Dr. Van Hereveld, tell us what you've got on your list to not miss this year.
Hey, good to see you, Kim. Definitely looking forward to going to the AEP as well. I think it being in San Diego helps. I've never been there for this for an AEP, so it's nice to go to a nice warm location during the holidays. But not to triple down on this, since you and Chris already mentioned it, but again, that Merck Animal Health Sunrise session discussing sustainability in practice models with our Dr. Wright I think is a must-see. As we travel around the country, for what we do for a living, visiting equine practice, this topic just keeps coming up over and over again all the time. And I think that practice owners and associates are hungry to share as many ideas as possible to improve our equine culture. I think this is a must-attend session, and I'm definitely really looking forward to it. The next thing is, of course, the Caster News Hour on Thursday. It's also one of my favorite events to attend. It tends to set the tone and enthusiasm for the rest of the meeting, in my opinion. It will, as always, highlight the latest scientific papers in specific areas of equine medicine. And it also often provides some good laughs as well. It seems like sometimes that little banter between medicine and surgery, comes through in a nice manner. Thursday afternoon, there are several sessions on diversity, equity, and inclusion that are also sponsored by Merck Animal Health. As having started my veterinary career in Brazil and then transferring to the United States, I see this as a relevant topic at this time, especially that we have a shortage of qualified professionals in equine. So this good momentum is present right now to support diversity and inclusion at this time. And then the last portion that I have is Saturday morning as well. There's a session on coping strategies for managing on-call stress in equine practice, also by Dr. Wright. I have seen over the past 20 years the level of stress associated with being on call and managing emergency cases sort of rise significantly. I feel that just telling people to tough it out is not appropriate anymore, and having a discussion on this topic and creating support system for this is important at this time. So those would sort of be the highlights that I'm looking forward to this convention.
Dr. Kara Wright, I saved the best for last, okay?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you all on my team for mentioning that sunrise session so much. I am really looking forward to having that discussion and seeing everybody in there bright and early. Although I will say for the East Coasters, it's not going to be that early. Y'all are going to be awake and ready to go. And then thank you, Phil, for mentioning my session on on-call anxiety. I think it's an interesting topic because I think when you really dial it down, there's a lot of reasons why people have stress with on-call, and it's not always the thing that you think it is. But the sessions that I'm looking forward to, first off, Friday morning is a business and practice life session talking about expenses, compensation, and support staff. And those are three huge keys to running a successful practice. So some of the topics, there's going to be a business news hour. So same kind of thing where they're presenting some of the updated studies and data that's out there. So that's always a good way to get information quickly. And then there are two sessions that talk about, number one, understanding practice expenses and where does 100 pennies, so $1 of income, where does that actually go in a practice? And I think that's really important information for people to understand. You look at your compensation as a veterinarian or, hey, I just made this much money at an appointment, but actually there are so many things that the practice has to pay for, and understanding where that goes is really important, especially when you tie it into how many pennies of that are spent on your compensation and where that comes from. So these sessions are going to be really important for students and newer graduates to learn how those numbers come up and where it comes from and how much work you actually have to do to create the salary that you are making. And it's just really good information as you start your career. Another thing they're talking about in that session, there's a session about using support staff to maximize veterinary effectiveness. And that is another key to success in practice. You're a veterinarian, do your veterinary thing, have your assistants and your technicians do the assistant and veterinary technician thing. So I think this session is going to be really, really good. Another thing that is awesome, sort of focused on the veterinary support staff and technicians, Merck Animal Health is going to be launching a program for veterinary support staff, and we will be launching it at AAEP. It's going to be called Leg Up, and I'm really excited to share it with everybody. So please come visit us in the exhibit hall, and you can chat with us and learn about that program and what that entails and what we envision to help veterinary support staff moving forward. The other things I want to mention as far as sessions, Friday morning there's a radiology session, and it has a couple of really nice newer practitioner concepts about neck radiographs and pre-purchase exams that I think would be really useful for people. And then sort of following along with that, on Friday afternoon, there is a session about the cervical spine and seeing neurologic cases in the field. So again, those are going to be really great sessions for anybody that's doing ambulatory practice or that is newer in the profession. So highly recommend those for sure. And again, obviously looking forward to seeing everybody.
Well, thank you again very much for joining us to give us your insights on some wonderful things that are going to be happening at AAEP this year. And we want to thank our audience for joining us. And the fun thing is we're going to get back together with this group from Merck to talk about what they actually went to and some of the highlights that they discovered in some of the presentations from the convention. So listen for that on the last podcast of the year this year for Disease Du Jour. And thanks to our audience for listening today. And a special thanks to our 2023 sponsor, Merck Animal Health, who gives us the opportunity to have these discussions. And if you have any questions or suggestions, send an email to me at kbrown, that's the letter K Brown, at equinenetwork.com.